Hello, everyone. If you're tuning in, welcome to Sand in the Gears. I think it's number 7. I've lost count, to be honest. But I'm really excited today to be chatting with David Sinfield, who some of you might also follow on Twitter. And he's a bushcraft and bow instructor. And I call this Forest School for Grown-Ups because that's what I like to call it. So welcome, David.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Well,
it's the first time I've done one of these, so
I'll be gentle with you, I promise.
Well, yeah.
So the first thing I wanted to know was, how did you get in to being a bushcraft instructor and a bow instructor?
The bows came first. In 1993, I was knocked off my bike and broke my leg into 9 pieces. So I had quite a lot of time on crutches and unable to work, unable to do stuff. So I spent 6 months, maybe, reading about bow making. I've always fancied it and never actually got round to it. You know, when we're kids, we all got a bit of cane and a bit of string and made a bow, but I wanted to do it properly. And in 1993, you know, you couldn't go to YouTube and say, show me how to make a bow. And you get thousands of results now, thousands of them. So it actually involved reading books, and also, most of your listeners won't remember this, being on Usenet, UK Rec Archery. And when I thought I'd read enough, I went and bought a piece of wood, a piece of hickory, and started hacking at it with various tools to make a bow. It took me 6 months to actually make the bow from start to finish, and it was very nearly the last one I ever made because it was a pain. So, and then I sort of started working things out for myself rather than listening to other people. And I realised there were probably 4 bows in that piece of wood. It was a huge plank, and whittling it down took a long time. So I was making bows for 7 years, doing a little bit of shooting in various competitions, because for the first couple of years, I was just making bows and stacking them up in the garage. And I thought I'll start shooting, and I discovered field archery, which is not in a field, it's in the woods. And I thought, it's lovely being in the woods. You get a couple of mile walk and you shoot at 20 targets on the way round. And for my 50th birthday, my wife bought me a bushcraft course, and I went along to the bushcraft course, and I was actually coming back from an archery competition, and during the course I said, I've got some bows in the car, would you like me to talk about them and show them and ping a few arrows? And he said, yeah, sure. You know, it's a 2-day course, we can take an hour while people are having lunch, and we'll talk about bows. And well, I never went home. They said, would you like to come and teach people to make bows, teach people archery? And I stayed for 20 years.
Wow. So you kind of found your niche. Now I'm going to show just how ignorant I am now about this, because I, for some reason, and you put me straight, I imagined that a bow would be made out of a piece of wood, obviously, but then I imagined that it would be, you know how the old cartwheels were made, where they would have to steam bend the wood around. That's how I imagined a bow would be made, but obviously not. You carve it out of a plank of wood.
Yeah, that's a very common misconception. A good bow, a good plain wooden bow, take an English longbow, is straight when it's unstrung.
So where's this weird idea that we get of that kind of like that sort of straight at the top, straight at the bottom, and this curved bit in the middle? Is that a particular type?
That's, I mean, the Olympic, let's take the Olympic bows. They're now made of carbon fibre, fiberglass, modern materials. They are what we call recurves, so the tips point away from you. And you can do that with wooden bows. I have actually recurved some wooden bows, and as you quite rightly said, they're boiled or steamed, so you can bend the tips.
Yeah. So this has got to be quite bendy wood. I mean, hickory, I would never have imagined hickory to be a particularly bendy type of wood, but...
Hickory is very tough. It needs to be a tough wood. It needs to have good integrity in the fibres.
Yeah.
So
what makes the best bow? What wood makes the best bow, would you say?
My favourite is a nice piece of elm.
Classic English elm.
Yes. But for our courses, elm is a bit hard to come by, so we just use ash. I mean, there's loads of ash. We're based in the South Downs, and the chalk-grown ash is really, really tough. It's fairly forgiving. It fails slowly rather than suddenly. And it's readily available. We use 20-year coppice ash, so it renews itself in 20 years.
So are these the more whippy sort of pollarded branches that the sort of
no,
bendy? No,
20-year ash has a diameter of about 8 inches.
Right. Yeah.
And from that we'll get two bows. We split it down the middle and get 2 bows. So
you're saying it's just a straight piece of wood, but just has its own natural bend in it when you pull the strings of the bow.
Getting it to bend is what teaching the bow, we call it. Yeah. So, very simply, the process is you get a tree. we quite literally give our students a tree, and you cut it down, knives, axes, to the point where it starts to flex. And then you flex it and see where it's not bending, and take a little bit of wood out where it's not bending, to try and get an even, you should see me waving my hands about here, to get an even curve.
Yeah.
So the stresses are stressed out throughout the wood.
So they're really learning right from the source, aren't they? You're not just handing them a piece of wood and going, right, this is what we do with this. You're getting them to actually chop down the tree that they're going to make a bow from.
Well, they don't actually cut down the tree, because that would add quite a lot of time to the course. And although we do take trees out of our woodland, which is a bit of the South Downs National Park, actually, where we can, we buy in coppiced wood. It would mainly end up as firewood. So we try and buy in from people who are clearing coppice.
So you've been doing this for about 20 years and sort of fell into it accidentally, by the sounds of it. What were you doing before you became a bushcraft?
I sort of retired in 2016, although I've been taking a few part-time jobs. I've worked in computing since the 1970s, roughly. And by the time I finished work, I was what we call a systems architect. That's the person that makes sure everything joins up when you're making a big system. And I worked a lot of the time in public sector, so government and local government.
Well, you're well out of that now.
I still keep my hand in. I can't help, if I sit at the computer, I have a little fiddle with a bit of coding, so I can't leave it alone. And up until just before COVID, up in 2019, I was doing a little bit of consultancy work with a company in Romania.
I guess that's all. Is that all stopped now?
COVID knocked them for six, to be honest. They were a new startup. They were working to get a contract with a company in America, which they got. And then when it came to delivering, they closed the factory down. So they sort of struggled through the first year of COVID. They're sort of back up and running now, but I don't have a job there unless they make a new kind of machine. They were doing fast infusers and slow infusers for drug delivery and pumping blood into people. But unless they go and make a new machine, my job on those machines is finished.
I suppose is there a point in asking you which you prefer, forest activities or like bushcraft or computers?
Being in computers is much more lucrative.
Yes, but what's more enjoyable? That's the thing.
Oh, I just love being in the woods. I just love being out in the woods and outside and making things.
So are you out doing this every day, or is it a weekend thing?
No. Most of our courses are during the weekend, because that's when people have free time.
Exactly. And is it what would you is it a sort of fairly even split between men and women, and what sort of age range is it that tends to?
It depends on what we're doing. I mean, for some courses, we've had small people as young as 8 or 9 coming on our one-day bow making course. We don't take under 16s usually, although I have actually just agreed to let a 15-year-old come on one for the 3-day course because it's just physically hard and requires commitment. And things like the archery coaching, I'll take anybody from an age where they can take instruction, so 7.
Really?
Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, I quite like working with kids. One of the things we do, we work at it's called an activity centre, and it's outdoor. There's zip wires and shooting and climbing, and they've given us a little area there so we can do a bit of bushcrafty forest schools stuff. And we go on their special educational needs days and take the kids a bit out of their comfort zone. There's an open fire. Oh gosh, don't go near that.
Responsibility though, they really sort of live up to that, I think, don't they?
Yeah. Just an anecdote. One lady came and I roughed out a spoon out of a bit of old hazel, and one little lad said, "Can I do some of that?" And I thought, yeah, I'm not going to give you a knife just yet, but here's a bit of sandpaper, smooth it all off nicely. His mum said he'll do it for 10 minutes and get bored. He was still there an hour later.
Wow.
It's just hitting that spot.
I guess it's quite
that they like. And I do let them use knives. We carve little mushrooms, or make, this is not politically correct, gypsy flowers, which are little flowers made out of hazel. And you can do it safely. I'm on top of them. I mean, if I see the knife going in a bad direction, I'm on top of them and I grab it.
Yeah. But if they've got their parents with them, then parents should be keeping an eye on them anyway, shouldn't they?
I prefer they don't.
Oh, really? I can see why. I think I'd probably be.
I mean, it's like, yeah, I would much prefer that the parents go and stand somewhere else and do something else. Yes. Because they're oh no, don't do it like that.
Oh,
no,
so
he's okay. Oh no, don't do it like that. That's sharp.
The children act differently as well when their parents are there and when they're not there. They're like
Yeah,
completely different little people when their parents are there.
and I can frighten them more when their parents aren't there. I'm quite fierce. I'm quite scary.
Well, just from my own experience, where I used to do, I used to lead groups to sort of overnight stays at an outdoor education centre, and they were so different when their parents weren't around, and they definitely took on that responsibility. When you have to do the spiel, don't you? Now this is, we don't normally let people do this. Of course you do, really, but I think they're doing something special. And you're really trying, and they really do live up to your trust, I find.
That is exactly, you make them feel like you're giving them some real responsibility, saying, I wouldn't let everybody do this, but you look like you're sensible. As long as you stay sensible, we can carry on.
That's exactly it. Psychology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any, it doesn't sound like you had, because you were in computers, did you have any experience with working with children before you did forest schools, or is that just something that's happened?
No, not really. Well, I mean, I had children, and my girlfriend had children.
So you're a natural teacher by the sounds of it.
I think that was probably my vocation. When I was very young, when I was in my 20s, I worked for Department of Health and Social Security, it was called then. And I was the local office trainer, and I was trained in training.
Right. So you kind of got some of those skills on how to put things across to people. Yeah.
And like mentoring all through my computer, or later in my computer career, when I had a lot of experience, then I was involved a lot in mentoring young programmers. So that was part of my job, is trying to get the best out of my people.
So you have got, teaching and training. It's kind of the same thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to kind of get over what can be quite tricky concepts sometimes in easily understandable language. Yeah. So apart from your bows, the thing that really sort of stood out to me on your all the photographs you post on your Twitter account were these knives, these like little whittling tools and knives that you do. That's my eye sort of pinged open. So do you actually teach how to make the knives, or do you just teach how to make the wooden handles and then put it all together? And
I'm really not geared up for metalwork.
Right.
So on the knives, we suggest that people either tell us what they want to use a knife for, and then allow us to pick a blade or point them at a suitable blade. So when you come on the knife making course, you bring your own blade, or we've already got the blade for you.
Yeah, so they have so they quite often have to bring their own along, or you.
Yeah. No, I know a lot of very good knife makers and tool makers. I let them do that bit, and I'll concentrate on the woodwork.
Right. And do they have? Is there sort of not a catalogue, but some sort of a range of sort of drawings of what handle do you want with it, or how do they choose a handle to go with the blades and start making it?
Yeah, what I do is once they've chosen the blade, I have a look at the blade, and then I will do some preparation work, and I usually turn up with a couple of different styles of handle and a couple of different types of wood, and then they they choose their pieces and put the handle together for the blade from that. So and it's not only wood, we use horn and antler as well. So Yeah, that's the important thing about me knowing what they're going to turn up with. Is that I do a little bit of preparation work,
Yeah.
so that by the time they come, the wood's roughly cut out.
Yeah, so they're just kind of smoothing it and chipping away and doing a bit of that craftsman
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
What's the most popular tool that people like to make or go home with?
It's mainly on the knife making. It's mainly sort of spoon carving type tools. So there's a knife called a sloyd, which is a
I've
fairly
seen that on your Etsy shop.
yes.
Yes.
So it's not a very big blade, straight on the back, curved on the front. And it's
Tiny,
just
isn't
a
it?
really good general woodworking tool
Yeah, I'm looking at that right
for
now. It's
carving.
really tiny. It looks really tiny in the photos, but
That's the one that's on there at the moment is a 1-inch blade, I think.
okay, yeah, it's quite small. So what can you actually do with that? Is it literally just for whittling wood?
I use them for everything. I mean, I use one of those for cutting out my leather work, for instance.
Ah.
So yeah, it's just it's a knife.
It doesn't look like a knife though, does it? It looks like it does. It's got that sort of knife-shaped blade, but because it's so short. Oh, okay. David's disappeared. I'm hoping he's going to come back. Don't quite know what's happened. Right. In the meantime, I don't know if you're listening and you follow David on Twitter. I'm just going to get his Twitter account up. So he's at OMOT Forest on Twitter. And he's got a link on his Twitter account actually to his Etsy shop, which I'm looking at now. And those knives that he was just talking about, he's got three up there. They've actually been sold. I'm going to ask him about his leather work in a minute because I've seen the lovely knife sheaths that he's also made.
I'm back.
Hello, what happened?
I have no idea. My phone just my phone. I was so boring. My phone decided I'm not listening to this anymore.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, I've been telling people all about the knives on your Etsy site. So and how they can follow you on Twitter. You were started to talk about how you use this in your leather work, and I wanted to ask you about that as well because you the other photos, obviously, or in the same photos, these lovely knife sheaths that people make.
Yeah, well, I do knife sheaths as commissions. I don't, you can't keep a stock because they've got to be made for a specific knife.
Of course, yeah.
So I do knife sheaths and axe masks as commissions.
And what? Knife sheaths and
axe masks. The cover for an axe.
Yes, I know covers for axes.
Yeah. So yeah. So yes. They have to be made to measure. You can't, go into a shop and buy a.
No, of course not. And do people make those on the? So they come and they'll sort of whittle a handle and then connect that up to a blade that they brought along or you've provided. And then do they make? Is the sort of the sheath part of their?
Some do. Some do. They're two separate courses. They can do one then the other. So we try and run them on consecutive days. So there's handling on the Saturday and making the sheath on the Sunday.
Right, so be a weekend. And do they come?
So they could, yeah. And if they just want to come on one of those days, well, that's fine too.
Yeah. So I've been looking at the website actually. So I've got it up here, forestnights.co.uk.
That's it.
And there's a picture of you I think that's definitely you.
Oh, there's a few pictures of me. Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at the most obvious one. Yeah, so there's loads of different things that people can do, and you're based in the southeast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Near. We work in the woods. So our bushcrafty and first aid courses are in the woods, and some of the craft courses we run at Amberley. It's Amberley Working Museum. So we have a workshop there.
Amberley Working Museum. That sounds really interesting.
So for the bow making, hauling the tools and everything and workbenches into the woods is a bit of a mission. So we tend to do those at Amberley, unless people actually request to do it in the woods. We can, and we used to always do them in the woods. But there's hot running water, there's proper toilets,
What compost toilets?
In the museum, because it's open to the public, they have proper toilets that flush. But in the woods, we have a very lovely composting toilet, which I'm a great fan of.
I love a composting loo. In fact, I want to create one in our back garden.
Yeah, we didn't used to have one. When I was first in the woods, it was do like the bears do.
Yes, that's also very good, I find. Too much information, probably.
Oh, an outdoor wee is the best wee, I can tell you that.
Nature, we call it, communing with nature.
Yeah. So I can't remember exactly when the composting toilet was built. Probably 10 years ago.
Oh wow! Okay. Is it? Sorry, I like to get into the nitty gritty of compost. Pardon the expression.
Well, one thing about being out there with other people is you lose all your inhibitions.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd lose all of mine. I quite my honesty. But I first came across composting loos it was Glastonbury actually, and I remember, gosh, this was back in 2000, and I'd never been to Glastonbury before. It was my first time. In fact, it was my first and only time, and there's a reason for that, and it's not a bad reason; it's a good reason. But anyway, we won't get into that. But obviously, there were massive queues for these awful, the plastic portally things that stink horribly.
Yeah, they're horrible.
Oh, awful. And then I've always been petrified that someone's going to push one over when I'm in it as well. So anyway, we won't go down that road. But then there were compost loos, and these were kind of quite a new, innovative thing back then. And of course, there was no one really at the compost loos. So there they were, all lovely and fragrant and clean and lovely and full of straw. And so I totally fell in love with compost loos from then on. A bit like the hammocks that we were talking about earlier on, when I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Tell us your hammock story. I love that.
My hammock story?
Yeah, about France.
Oh, yeah. I had a double futon in France. I didn't need a hammock. No, I in 2010, I decided that I needed a break from everything. So I packed up my Land Rover and drove to France, southwest of France, where my friend has it was a farm. Now he more concentrates on the bed and breakfast side of the business.
Whereabouts in southwest France? Because I know that a little bit.
The nearest town is Saint-Céré, which is, if you draw a triangle from Bordeaux to Lyon, and what's in the south?
It's not around the west. No. Oh, yes.
It's about 2 hours from Toulouse, 2 hours from Bordeaux. It's right in the middle. It was on the top of a mountain.
Oh,
on my YouTube channel, there's the drive up to his farm on a road called the Grammel.
You have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's not very interesting.
I'm sure it is. Anyway, carry on.
And there's a drive up the mountain. And I actually put the dash cam on while I drove up there. It's a scary old road. It kills 1 or 2 people every 3 years. The French are completely mental. If you're going down, you have right of way. And they would rather drive both of you off the road and have the discussion afterwards than give way if you're going up. Anyway, so I took myself off there. It was, do you know what? I thought it might be a permanent move. But then, and I was kind of working. I was looking after the pigs and the cows and working in the charcuterie. And I stayed for a year and then came home.
So why didn't you end up staying? Because you said you thought it might be a permanent.
Yeah, several things. First of all, the farm was gradually going downhill. You know, we were putting in long 12, 14-hour days working on the farm, the 2 of us, and it was still struggling for various reasons. And also, my wife had a cancer diagnosis, so I came back.
Yeah, I can see. Would she have moved out there with you if you'd have?
Certainly not.
Oh, right, okay.
I did look at buying a very rundown. Well, it was the old bakery, the village bakery, at one point, and I got quite a long way down the road with that and did the research on. It had no plumbing, so I had to do the research for putting in a micro digester.
Yeah. Anaerobic digester thing.
No, it's like a mini sewage plant that you bury under the ground.
Right.
But then, as I say, didn't come off because I came home. But it was funny showing me around the place. It's a long, narrow building, and we looked around downstairs and we looked around upstairs, and it was only one room on upstairs and downstairs. And I said, the downstairs looks a little short. It's shorter than the upstairs. Oh yeah, we forgot to say, the bakery's down there, and there was a wood-fired oven and a complete sort of bakery, very primitive bakery, but a bakery with a wood-fired oven.
Oh,
so it was a beautiful place.
Yeah.
The only plumbing they had was like a little ledge on the upper story with a stone with a hole in it that dropped down into the pig shed. I'll let you use your imagination.
It sounds really primitive, but in quite a nice way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had it all planned out. I mean, I was going to live downstairs and have a workshop upstairs. But yeah, it didn't happen. So, yes.
Yeah, we looked at moving to France at one point. I wanted to build a straw bale house.
Oh, yeah.
And we went looking near the Pyrenees, actually. But everything we were shown land-wise was in a valley with no outlook, so it felt quite claustrophobic. So
Richard was very into the eco stuff, and his friend built houses of basically cardboard and straw.
Yeah, that's
you impregnate the cardboard with resin and build a sort of double walls and put straw in between.
Oh, I've not heard of cardboard. That's a new one.
Oh, she builds beautiful stuff. Bookshelves, chairs, furniture.
From cardboard?
All from corrugated cardboard, yeah.
I have seen furniture made out of corrugated cardboard, but did it have resin? I can't remember. But yeah, I do love a straw bale.
No, furniture doesn't. It's only stuff that goes outside that gets it impregnated with a epoxy resin.
Right. Yeah, I love anything. Yeah, I suppose I am a bit of a not an eco warrior because oh my gosh, this climate change hysteria is a bit crazy. But I do class myself as an environmentalist.
Yes.
But not the whole climate change agenda is just not I'm not on board with that at all.
No. That is, I think you used the word hysteria.
Well, it's quite a few people have said that, and that people are on different sides of the fence on this, aren't they? But that it's
really very polarizing. Yeah,
in a new communism,
essentially. Yeah, or collectivism, certainly. Yeah,
collectivism, absolutely. Yeah, while they're busy flying around in their private jets. Nobody's adding these things up, are they? I mean, they do kind of grumble about it a bit, but I don't know. I think people are distracted a lot with what's going on with the cost of living, really, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that will be the end of net zero.
I'm glad you said that
because when the real impacts are starting now, and when the real impacts start hitting home, I think then Germany's now, how much is their coal fired? 51%, I think I saw yesterday, is brown coal.
Yeah.
For electricity.
Yeah, Germany's sort of, the influence of Germany seems to have dropped off a cliff in the past. Well, even the past few months, hasn't it? They were like the big cheese of Europe, sort of swaggering around, throwing their weight around, and they've suddenly shrunk to this subordinate, or sort of servant of the US.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, best not go into that too much.
Yeah, we don't want your channel banned or a warning put on your channel.
No, I still don't know why my first ever podcast was taken off air by YouTube. But anyway, who knows? They've got their own rules, haven't they? So, how many of you then are at this Forest School's outdoor centre?
First of all, we're not a forest school.
No. I'm calling it a forest school.
A forest school is something very particular.
Yes,
I'll tell you about forest schools in a minute, but
Bushcraft.
Basically, it varies. we are a core of 3 people, and we can call in other people if we need to.
So almost like supply teachers in a way.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, we do a thing every month called Bushcraft Club, which we just open up the woods to anybody who wants to come, and you pay a bit of money for firewood and camping. But basically anybody can come down and have a day or weekend in the woods.
Oh, it sounds lovely. Is there anything like that in Devon that you know of?
Not that I know of, no.
There must be something like that here, I'm guessing.
And some of the people who come to Bushcraft Club have sort of become expert in what we do, because we run courses alongside the Bushcraft Club. So the Bushcraft Club people will be there, and we'll be running a course in a little corner while we're there. And that, of course, they listen to the first aid and all that kind of stuff. And we take people out of the Bushcraft Club to be casualties. for the first aid course, for instance.
Yeah.
And they'll help out with doing a bit of cooking or whatever. Basically, me, Wayne, Beth are the core.
Yeah. And so do you do things like I'm thinking years ago, this wasn't Glastonbury, it was a little festival, I think it was called the Big Green Gathering, and it was in Gloucester. And they, those like mini festivals that have like those little areas where you can
Yeah,
do this kind of thing.
yeah.
Do they take this out to festivals as well, or is it all just
Not festivals. We do shows, mainly wood fair type shows. Wood fair. Wood fairs are, some of them are huge, and you've got everything from the big tree harvesters, which is a chainsaw on a hydraulic pole that look really scary, to the little man making trucks or baskets. And we go and take our stuff to the wood fairs, and I don't know, sit and make half a dozen arrows or do a bit of leather work. And that's, apart from being at the museum, that is our big sales channel, is talking to people at the wood fairs. We're members of a thing called the Surrey and Sussex Coppice Group.
Right.
And we have a little, I don't know what you call it, a ghetto, an enclave at the wood fairs where we have the people doing the crafts, and they actually pay us to go because we're seen as an attraction. The Coppice Group is seen as an attraction for the wood fair. So we don't pay for our stalls.
Yeah.
As long as we provide entertainment.
Yeah, so you're like the entertainment. I have been to, gosh, this was a long time ago now, when I lived in Oxfordshire, and there was something like a wood fair. I can't remember what it was called, but the one thing that really, they had the Shire horses doing the logging, like pulling the logs out. So that was really interesting. And there was someone there, a wood turner, but using the old like string or was it
pole? Yes, we do that too.
That's it. Yes.
We have a pole. We have a pole in the woods. We don't advertise that as a course, although if you ask, I'll tell you can do it.
Right.
There's a conflict with Amberley on that one because they have their own bodger.
A bodger? A bodger is a real thing, isn't it?
A bodger is a guy who made the chair legs and the round work for chairs.
Yeah, see, we use that in a really negative context now, don't we, to bodge something?
Well, yeah, because there's bodge and there's botch, BOTCH, and they sound very similar, don't they?
Yes, yeah.
But they mean very different things. To bodge is to put something together and make it work. To botch is to mess something up. But because the two words sounded the same, they get conflated.
Yeah.
So
a bodger is a skilled person.
Basically the bodger was the itinerant pole lader who went round and made any of the round work for chairs, so stretchers and chair legs and stuff.
So what are your plans then for how long do you think you might want to carry on doing this kind of bow and bushcraft instructing for?
While I can. Dragging out of the woods 2 weeks ago up to my knees in mud, I'm thinking, I don't want to do this anymore.
I
want to sit in my warm workshop at home and play with bits of wood. No, as long as I can. I'm old, I'm extremely old.
Are
But
you?
as long as I can do it, as long as I can do it.
Yeah, because I noticed I was scrolling through. You said something about doing first field archery hunting trail
Yes,
in March.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Basically, when you say field archery, people expect the Olympics, where you're all on a line shooting at targets and stuff like that. But
Uh-huh.
but field archery is actually wandering through the woods with a scattering of targets hidden in the woodland,
Including deer-shaped ones, I've noticed.
including we have a deer, we have a coyote, we have a peccary, which is a little pig.
Uh-huh. No politicians
As
then.
no, as 3D targets, and we have a lot of paper targets as well that we shoot. No, shooting at people, even sort of models of people, is very controversial.
Yes, I
I
it
used
is.
to do a competition called the St George's Day Shoot, which was it was a weekend, and we shot half a dozen different disciplines like Bhutanese, Nepalese, clout, which is long distance shooting.
Mhm.
And one of the events, my friend Hilary had made models of the French army, um, including knights on horseback, and we used to shoot at like 200-yard distances because she didn't want holes in her target, so she didn't make it easy. But they were beautifully painted, and the Swiss crossbowmen actually looked like, picture cards from a deck of cards,
Like
beautifully,
Dick
brightly coloured.
Dallingpole's beautiful. Do you follow Dick Dallingpole? His beautiful.
Oh, his stuff. I don't know how
Yeah,
he does it. He's
yeah.
done the time lapse, and I still can't see how he does it. Yeah. So anyway, we used to shoot at the French army, and throw them up V signs and all that kind of stuff. But that got, in some of the more staid archers, you can't shoot at models of people. Well, actually, we can. Yeah, so that's quite controversial. But we do. Yes, shooting the French army was one of the great events of the weekend.
Yeah, I remember when I was teaching, I was a primary school teacher, and there were two boys in my class, twins. They were twins, they were brothers, they were twins. And they they were so funny. They would basically play. I think they were somewhere on the spectrum, although I don't like to say that because too many boys are labelled as being on the spectrum and they're not, they're just boys.
Yeah.
But they would just play shooting games all the time with sticks and twigs and whatever they could find. And then that was, they weren't allowed to do that and they were told off for doing that, not by me. And so the next thing they were just using their fingers. You can't stop them doing it because that's what they
Yeah.
want to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I love it. I like shooting. We bought an air gun to shoot, like a proper expensive one because we want to learn how to shoot rabbits and eat them, not just for fun.
Yeah. No, I have an air rifle. It's very old. It's a BSA Lightning from about 1960. I've refurbed it. It's quite nice now.
Yeah. Do you shoot rabbits? Do you shoot to?
I used to. I haven't for a long time. Strange. Our woods, even in the fields outside our woods, we don't see rabbits.
Oh.
Whereas just over the road on the golf course, it's infested with them. In fact, a friend of mine was allowed to shoot on the golf course to try and reduce the numbers. But around our woods, we just don't see them.
No, I think maybe rabbits like that open outlook, don't they? Because
Yeah, but we come in. When we come into the woods, we go through. It's about a kilometre to the road. We walk about a kilometre from the road through the fields,
right.
and see deer all the time. but we never see rabbits.
No, I've only ever seen them in open fields, I have to say, or on the verges, or sort of like grass verges. But yeah, no, I really must learn to shoot and skin and gut a rabbit.
Well, we do cane prep as well.
If only you weren't so far away. I would be there like a shot doing.
Well, you can come for the weekend. You don't have to come for a day. You can come for the weekend.
Yeah, that would be really nice to do something like that. Yeah, I'd love to find something. It must be.
Yeah, we've done a day where you do a rabbit, a pigeon, and a trout. So you've done mammal, bird, and fish.
Yeah.
Which should set you up for pretty well anything that confronts you.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, I've got some friends.
Cookery is also a big thing about of what we do. So if you notice the posts, there's a lot of food in my posts, and campfire cooking is a huge thing with us.
So do they do foraging and then, or do they do shooting and then cook? Or?
Well, no. I certainly wouldn't let a novice shoot animals because they're more likely to wound them than.
No, I meant I didn't know if they just sort of did a shooting. Sort of
no, yeah. One of the things we like to do, and it's not on the website, something we talk about with people who look like they might be interested, is a dangerous day. Where we will do knife throwing, axe throwing. I'll bring down the rifle. Wayne will bring down his air pistols. And we do a crossbow, pistol, crossbow, and just have a day of, projectiles.
Really good. A day of projectiles. I like that. That sounds really good. I'd love to do something like that. But yeah, no, I must learn how to. Have you gone again, or are you there?
No, I'm still here.
You are there. That's all right. It's just the screen's gone completely blank. Yeah, no, I'd love to learn how to shoot and do it properly. I mean, I've fished and done that, but yeah, not mammals.
Yeah,
need to get on.
Yeah, it's not everybody can do it. A friend of mine, Wally, great outdoorsman, great raconteur, absolute lunatic. He bought himself an air rifle. He shot one rabbit and sold the air rifle. He said, "I can't do that." So it's not everybody can do it.
No, I don't know. I think I could. I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of those people that gets all squeamish at blood and guts. You know, when you're, I'm not one of those people. With humans, I am, but not with animals. I don't mind doing all that kind of thing.
Yeah, I used to do a bit of pest control in my friend's woodland down in Kent.
Yeah.
For squirrels and rabbits, because their rabbits cost him a fortune. He was a coppicer, and he used to have a deer fence up, but the rabbits could get through the deer fence. And once he clear felled, when the new shoots came up, rabbits would just destroy them.
Yeah.
So they're costing him a lot of money.
I love rabbit. I think it's so delicious. Rabbit biryani.
Oh, no, Kentucky fried rabbit. You need a young rabbit.
No, I've never.
And you prepare it like Kentucky fried chicken.
Never had that. Might have to try that. They've got wild rabbits at the local butcher, actually.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll give that a go. It stinks though. I've noticed when it's cooking, it really does smell.
When you skin them, they smell a little bit. I used to have to do it in the garden.
Yeah. They when you're cooking them, they smell as well. It doesn't smell like chicken. It might taste a bit chickeny, but it doesn't smell like chicken when it's cooking. It's got a really strong smell. Yeah. David, we had a bit of a hammock conversation before we went live, and we were talking about hammocks. How did we get on to talking about hammocks?
I can't remember.
You were,
you were talking
telling me
about
something about
camping.
a hammock
You were
and
talking about camping and
would.
sleeping on the floor. And
That's
I
right.
said, I don't sleep on the floor anymore. I'm too old.
Yes.
So yeah, when I'm in the woods, I'll stay in my hammock, and it's comfortable. You don't have to grovel about getting up off the floor, yeah, I get a really good night's sleep in the hammock.
Do you use a proper, the camping ones that have got the cover on, so it's?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, the hammock is like a pod with a mosquito net on the top and a tarp over that.
Yeah. So you sort of create your tarpaulin roof and then
string the hammock underneath
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you're in and zipped in, you can't fall out. People say, "Oh, why don't you fall out?" You can't fall out.
No.
And people say, "Oh, but you have to sleep on your back." No, you don't. You can sleep anywhere you like. It's it's a bed strung from the trees.
It's lovely. I love that.
In fact, I usually sleep on my side. Yeah, great for my back. I had a bit of back trouble a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And it's really good for my back.
You wouldn't think so with a hammock, because it's not. They recommend something flat for backs, and a hammock obviously isn't flat, but I think they're really comfortable. Have you seen? I was looking. Gosh, I think it was the last week. There's some kind of holiday that you can go on where you are basically in like a hammock, but on the side of a really steep mountain.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Well, I have. I used to climb when I was young and slim. And there were those people who did bivvy on the side of a cliff. Not because I had to, because I only did small stuff. I only did sort of single pitch crags, mainly around Derbyshire and Bristol. But there were those people who liked the alpine feeling of sleeping while strung to a rock. I'm not sure I want to do it myself.
No way, no. I've got a terrible, terrible fear of heights, which I never used to have when I was younger. But as I've got older, I even get vertigo looking down the stairs from the top of the stairs to the bottom of the stairs at home. It's got so bad. I definitely couldn't do it. And those glass walkway things that you can get across ravines.
Yeah, I did the Carrick-a-Reed Bridge on the Northern Irish coast, and I thought I was going to have trouble. And basically, I just looked ahead. It's 2 planks basically with a rope.
Yeah. See, my heart's already
rope
going.
bridge. And I just focused. I just focused on getting to the other side.
Yeah, don't look down.
You get to the island, and then there's a bird sanctuary and stuff, and then you go back. But as I got back, they said, "Oh, the high winds, we're closing it."
Oh.
And it was a bit breezy. I've got to say, it was a bit breezy, but I was quite pleased to have got both ways across.
I don't think I could have done it. I went across what wasn't even a very high rope bridge in Indonesia somewhere, in some rainforest, and that even wasn't very high, and I was just burst into involuntary floods of tears. It was ridiculous. I got each rope in my hand as I was pulling myself across, going, "It's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine." And it wasn't. I didn't mean to. It's just like these tears were streaming down my face, and I thought, "Oh, yeah, it's just got worse."
One thing where I did get vertigo, and it was on a solid brick wall, was in France. There's a place called Rocamadour, which is basically a village carved out of a rock, and it's in 3 levels. And on the top level, there's a walkway that goes along a wall, and there is no visual reference. And the sides are only couple of feet tall. So you have no visual reference. You can't touch anything. And I got vertigo on there.
Yeah, I just could not. It means that I can't do some really nice things. Like I've missed out on really lovely temples in Thailand because they're up tiny little narrow steps, and it's really irritating. But I just have to accept that that's the way it is. So we've done an hour already.
Gosh, time flies when you're enjoying yourself.
Is there anything you want to cover or mention?
No. Just, I mean, if anybody wants to chat with me, they can find me on Twitter. I'm always ready to be distracted by having a discussion on bone making, leather making, woodwork, anything you like. But no, I can't even remember what we have covered. See, I told you I was old.
You said you've got a YouTube channel. I didn't know you've got a YouTube channel because it's not on your Twitter.
No. There's a bit of axe throwing and knife throwing and shovel throwing.
Is that under your name? Is that under your name or just Dave? So if people look for David Sinfield YouTube,
they might well find me. Yeah.
Are you keeping that? You playing your cards close to your chest on that?
No. As I say, I don't. I only chuck stuff up there when I want to post a long video on Twitter, usually.
Right.
So I put it on there and post a link. There's if you like pictures of planes landing in the snow, there's a couple of videos of planes landing in the snow where.
Oh, my nephew would love that. He's completely planes at the moment, so landing in snow will be a novelty. He'd enjoy that.
That was when I was flying backwards and forwards to Romania. I went over in, I think it was about -13 when I got there.
Gosh.
I nearly froze to death waiting for the taxi.
Have you got any plans to go overseas?
I will be going back to Romania this year. Probably, I think maybe April. I might try and get over there.
Is that for holiday or to do anything specific?
Yeah, I have a friend over there. I go and visit her. But as I say, two years of not being able to go there it has made things a bit more difficult. But yeah, I'll be going over this year.
That'd be good. So you've also got your Etsy shop. I've put a link to that actually in the live stream notes.
Yeah, do you know what? I hope I haven't sold anything because I haven't looked at that for ages.
Well, there's lots of things say sold on them. So
yeah, I think there's only one. I think there's one knife available at the moment, which I'm not pushing because it's one of my favourites and I don't want to let it go. I've got a whole album of my children that have gone to their forever homes. So yeah, I need to get more knives done. I've been taken up with some leather work and practicing just making stuff. So when I teach it, I know a bit of what I'm doing.
Yeah. So carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, I need to make some more stuff for the Etsy shop. I've got a box of blades here, very nice finished blades from a company called Lawrence in Finland, and they're just sitting there waiting for me to put handles on them.
Is it waiting for you to put handles on, or waiting for people to make them?
No, they're really waiting for me. Or if somebody comes and says, "I want a Sloyd knife," I can say, "Well, I've got a blade here. Would you like this one?" So both really.
Both. So you've got when it went blank earlier on, I let everyone know about your Twitter account. So you're on Twitter, you've got your YouTube account, your Etsy shop.
Yeah.
And I think earlier on I told people about forest nights as well,
Yes, forestnights.co.uk. Have a look.
where they can go and do courses with you or with some other people, depending on.
Yeah, so some of them I do and some of them I don't. There's some of the wood carving courses, the fan birds and the wood spirits you'll be learning with Wayne. The spoon carving you'll be learning either with Beth or Wayne. Although I do spoon carving, normally they're almost 1-to-1. So having 3 instructors standing over you can be a bit unnerving.
Yeah, I think I'd find that a little bit unnerving. I'm terrible when I'm being watched. And did you want to plug your Substack?
I can do. I can send you a link. It's called Tales from the Tree Bog.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Yeah, do that, and then I'll put the links to where every people can find you and what you're up to, and
Thank you.
yeah, and hopefully sort of connect with you that way. So,
Thank you. Yes.
Is there anything else you want to cover?
Is there anything else you want to cover? What is it? Is there anything we should be talking about that we haven't talked about? That's the voice from trigonometry.
Oh,
yeah.
well, yes. I don't know. Is there? I don't want to get you into any trouble.
No. I'm unvaccinated.
How have you found the last 3 years? I guess was one of my questions, because obviously being an outdoorsy sort of person.
Well, I kind of ignored it as much as I could.
Yeah.
I kind of ignored it as much as I could. I put my bandana over my face to get past the security guard in Tesco's, and then took it off again when the mask mania started. And I didn't do this. Can't go out for more than an hour or whatever it was.
Well, that wasn't even true anyway. That was the media was putting that out, and it just wasn't the truth.
So I just kind of ignored it as much as possible. I did get out into the woods a couple of times under the guise of education and maintenance.
Yeah.
But I just tried to ignore it. I actually very strongly suspect that I had COVID in March 2020.
Really? I think lots of people had it before it was even a thing, because a few people I know had what they thought was particularly bad flu. I think it was just flu renamed personally. But yeah, people who'd had what was like a bad flu, but with extra sort of respiratory issues. Yeah. But they just.
Well, I think they pushed the date back for it being in the UK to, was it October 2019?
But they reckon now it was here in July, don't they?
Yeah, from sewage samples. So, it was, testing and the constant reporting of massive, what they call cases.
Well, deliberately whipping up the fear, which is
absolutely,
really, because I see older people around now whose last chapter of their lives has been ruined by fear, and now they're going out. They're
not just old people. Yeah, not just old people. I mean, everybody got infected with, or a lot of people got infected with fear.
Oh, completely. But it's carried over with the older generation. I see more of the old. I mean, there's still not many of them. Give them their due. But the ones that are still that are back in masks where I am, they're all elderly. They've been, the last chapter of their lives has been marred by fear now.
I live next door to an old people's home. It's quite literally the next building to me. And they were completely hermetically sealed for a year and a half.
What a shame!
And there were people standing. People weren't allowed into the garden to talk to their relatives, they were shouting over their hedge through the window.
Madness.
And it was just dreadful. Just dreadful.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, my dad did this for about 5 weeks, right at the start when when they were ramping it all up, and then after 5 weeks, he just went, "Sod this," he said. "I'd rather have a shorter life and live it than 10 years of living like this." It's so he just took sort of chains off it, if you like, and we were all back to normal, which was great.
Well, yeah. What's the point if your life is only the avoidance of death?
Exactly. That's exactly what he said. Yeah. Yeah. Because obviously he's got grandchildren, and he wasn't seeing his grandchildren growing up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. No, it's shocking.
Wow. Because they change so much, don't they, in a short space of time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank
shocking.
goodness it makes all sense in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But it is a shame. I think some people, like I said, I think their lives, they're going to be forever sort of almost hand over the panic button now for the rest of their lives, however long.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a tragic.
Yes, it won't take much just to,
Yeah. Well, they're still all talking about it at work, and still testing.
Yes. Yes,
So,
I'm surprised because you've got to buy your own tests now.
well, I don't know if they're testing or whether some people are just, because it's still a good cop out, isn't it? Oh, I can't come into work because I've got COVID.
Yeah.
I can't do that because I've got COVID. So
Yeah.
It's still being used a lot as an excuse by some people. Definitely.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Right. So, well, we've done an hour and a quarter nearly.
Phew. Okay.
So, and that's pretty good for a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I wasn't doing anything else. I was sitting here having a cup of tea.
When's your next workshop and your next course that you're doing?
The next thing I've got is Lodge Hill Activity Centre, working with the special educational needs kids, doing catapulting and marshmallow toasting and wood carving or whittling. And I've got the thing in March, which is the field archery day.
Which looks like the escape rooms, but outside.
Sorry?
It reminds me of the escape rooms, but it's outside. Well, a bit like paintballing, but paintballing with things.
Yeah, we have to be a bit more controlled than that, because if one of those arrows hits you, it's going to be at least life-changing. So I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the calendar. I'm not sure what else I've got between those two. I think I've got something between those two, but I'm not sure what. And then in March, we start the bow making again. I've got a couple of Twitter people whose names I won't mention. I'll let them tell you if they're listening. Coming on we've got 4 people bow making in March.
Oh.
So when I do the field archery, if it's the weekend after, I'll probably stay for the week.
That sounds good. And have you got a lot of prep to do before that then? Do you need to do a lot of prep yourself? Or?
The field archery is like 10 till 4, so 6 hours, but it takes us 4 days, 3 days before and 1 day after, to lay out the course and do the preparation for that. And I've got to make some arrows. People keep losing and breaking our arrows, so I've got to make a few arrows.
What do you make?
So either wood. It's a special dowel that I buy from China, or cane.
Right. Yeah. Not stone. Not flint.
No. Oh, the points. No, I use steel points. I've got some lovely bronze points, but I would not use those in the woods. The arrows we use in the woods have to be expendable. Yeah. Even me, if I go on a weekend competition and I take a dozen arrows with me, if I come back with 6, it's been a good weekend.
It's a bit like children and pencils.
Yeah,
I don't know where they put them, But you can start a class with 30 pencils, and you get 3 back. They've just completely disappeared.
I am a pencil thief. On the bow making course, we issue people with a pencil and a piece of string, and their instruction is not to give me their pencil, because I get home and I've got a pocket full of pencils.
That's very wise advice. David, it's been really interesting chatting, and like I said, I wish I was closer, but who knows, maybe I will get down.
Well, like I say, it doesn't have to be a day trip.
No, it can be a weekend. Yeah, we don't tend to go down.
I used to go down to Devon, a place called Drew Stainton on the edge of Dartmoor.
Yes, Drew Stainton, yeah.
And I did some freelance bow making course for a guy called Dave Budd, who's a blacksmith.
Right.
So, and it's not a bad drive.
No, it's not. We just don't really. We just don't. We don't have friends or relatives down that part of the country. We've got friends in London, so we don't really tend. Our friends and family are up either in Oxfordshire or Cheshire.
Yeah. Well, by train. We're very close to London. I travel by train now. I gave my car up.
Right.
I live in London. Seems no point really. Somebody crashed into it while it was parked, and I never replaced it. So Clapham Junction or Victoria down to us is not far. We can always arrange a pickup. Sorry?
How long on the train is that? How long?
About an hour and a half or an hour and a quarter.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Maybe, because it is the sort of thing I love to do. That sort of forest schooly weekend. I keep calling it forest school. I know it's not forest school, but that's just how I think of it in my head. It's because I'm primary, you see, primary education. So, yeah.
Well, the thing I was going to tell you about forest schools started 30 years ago to try and teach self-reliance and resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Look at 30-year-olds today.
I know.
Has it worked?
Well, are we? The thing is, are most of them all right, but the ones we hear about in the media
a lot, yeah. A lot of what we hear is a small number of people making a lot of noise. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell, isn't it? It's like we get this impression that they're all what we call them snowflakes, but maybe they're not. Maybe this is just this picture that's being created about this country to make people feel ashamed of it, and
Yeah, I can go along with that. Yeah.
I mean, we just had some young chaps come to put new windows in for us, and they were hard working. They were going from job to job. They were sort of highly recommended by quite a few people, and they were young. They were only in their 30s. So I don't know. I like to try and stay positive and think that it's just a small, very loud, heavily promoted minority.
You could be right. There's no way to tell, is there?
Only by the people that you know yourself, I suppose.
No, I guess so.
You're probably more in tune with that age group, with the ones that come along to your workshops and things, and what they're really like. I don't know. I guess we do have some younger members of the Bushcraft Club, and they're okay. And if they're not okay, they get mocked relentlessly. We had a new chap turn up. He was a lovely young bloke. I guess he's in his early 20s. Turned up with a whole weekend's worth of ration packs while we were tucking into steak and quite nice food. He was eating out of a foil bag. So we mocked him. So the next time
we gave him some ideas and some pointers, and I think the next time he turned up with proper food.
That's good. Maybe he was just acting out his, I don't know, soldier fantasies or something.
Yeah, that's true. I don't mind a ration pack now and again, but yeah, I think his mum had told him it'll all go bad. And this was in November, and I said it's as cold as it is in your fridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, enough
Well, it's been
rambling.
really
I bet we've lost all of your listeners now. I bet
we have not. No, definitely not. No, we've got people here who've been commenting away. So,
I'll have a look when we finished. I'll have a look.
Yeah, just chatting about things that they've done with various animals. And what else? Who else? Alphabet cat. Oh, somebody put up pigeons or something. Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think the chat comes up once the live stream's gone. I'm going to have to figure out a way of how to get the live chat so people can read
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I'm still not. I'm still only at the basis. I've only just learned to put comments on the screen.
I shouldn't have been lazy. I should have got the PC fired up, and then I could have had 2 screens running so I could watch it. But
oh well, never mind. It's been really lovely to talk to you. Thanks for taking time out of your Sunday, and I'll keep an eye on what it is you're up to. Not in a bad way, obviously. See what
if it was a bad way, I wouldn't tell you.
No, exactly. Thanks, David, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
A real pleasure. A real pleasure. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.